Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third live presentation in our 2024 Adopt-a-Ship program. My name is Mitchell, and I'm a part of the Canadian Geographic Education team that's in Ottawa, Ontario, which is on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin peoples. And today, I'm very excited because we are taking a field trip to a hovercraft station in beautiful British Columbia. But first, just a couple friendly reminders before we dive into the presentation. We have our website to watch all the recordings of previous presentations. So if you didn't manage to catch us live, you can always go back and watch the recordings on YouTube. Secondly, don't forget about the activity booklet and the teacher's guides that you can go and follow through with your class. And we have lessons and activities all about marine communication, that includes signal flags, interpreting nautical charts, and search and rescue operations. And next, make sure you dedicate some time to brainstorming some ideas for our classroom contest. And if you need to review the details, check out our website or send us an email to get more information about that. And finally, if you have any questions for the Commissioner of the Coast Guard, we have a program going on where you can submit your questions on our website that we will end up asking him in our final presentation of the year. So if any of your students or you are interested in what his favorite part of his job is or what his favorite vessel is and why, just submit your questions online and you might just get to have your question asked to the Commissioner himself. So today, as I said, we are traveling to the Coast Guard Sea Island Hovercraft Base in Richmond, British Columbia to learn all about the important services provided by hovercraft stations and their crews. Have you guys ever seen a hovercraft in action? I haven't, but I've heard that today might just be our lucky day. So if we lose the crew at any time due to internet issues because of the activities that they have planned, just hold tight and we'll get them back as soon as possible. So here to tell you more about hovercraft operations is Captain Steve Seklich and a few members of his crew. So Steve, thank you very much for joining us today, and I'll hand it over to you.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Canadian Coast Guard Hovercraft Base Sea Island, which is based on the far west coast by Vancouver Airport. So my name is Steve, Captain Steve Seklich, and I'm a current captain here at the Sea Island, as well as now the officer in charge. So I'm happy to introduce the crew of today. This is Captain Wiley Connor. He's going to graciously take us through the day and see what all Sea Island has to offer. Ian Craig is our first officer. We got the guy in charge of the dive supervisor, James Mole. Matthias, leading seaman Jack, and Hugh. So that's the crew of today. The hovercraft itself has a complement of 7 people, which is our daily crew on board. But then there's other day workers and people here at the office. So sometimes it's quite busy, and sometimes there's only the crew of 7 that does the search and rescue and standby. We're set up 2 days, 2 nights, which is a standard for police and fire and other emergency resource. So we're someone here all the time, ready to react. As far as where we are, we got the west coast of British Columbia, got Vancouver Island here, and the Haida Gwaii Islands. This is Alaska up here, and this is down in Washington. So the whole BC coast has more coast, and on the East Coast, Canada has the most coastline than anywhere else in the world. And we'll zoom in to kind of get where we are. And we're right here at the Vancouver airport. And the reason we have a hovercraft and not a boat, because we have lifeboats all the way up and down the coast. But because of the Fraser River, we got all these mud flats that come out the west. So all this is super shallow. So we have a hovercraft that is able to deal with any situation. If a plane was to have an issue or go down in the mud, we can assist. This is the chart that kind of shows the green. That's our tidal range here in Vancouver is about 13 feet. So every day up and down the tide will go up and down around 13 feet. All around the world, it's at different levels, but that's why. You can see Sturgeon Bank here. This is us, and this is all the mud flats from the years and years of Fraser River outflow. So now take a crew and mind me while I run this phone. So we're just going to take a walk through the base. So this is our SAR room. This is where all our equipment is, our personal gear, all our search and rescue gear for the divers. So the hovercraft only has a certain amount of room. So we have a little bit on board for any rescue that might come about. And that's the Moitel. That's our SAR craft of the day. And Moitel's name is to help each other. So that's considered SAR position. And it's ready to go at any time. Down the ramp to help out. We also have the other one, we have 2 hovercrafts to make one always maintainable because they always have maintenance and things that we got to do. So this is a perfect opportunity to show you the engineers and all the amount of work that they do to keep them running. There are a lot of moving parts on a hovercraft, and it takes some very specialized crew to keep them running. Myself, I've been with the Coast Guard for 27 years, and I've been at the hovercraft base here about 17. Started as a deckhand and worked my way up to officer, and now I get to be in charge of this. Oh, that's the hotline. You guys can hear that? That would be the hotline. So we're just doing a practice. That's what would. All right, so this is a good opportunity to see what's underneath the hovercraft. And this is in a 2-month refit at this time. All right, so that was the hotline. This is the crew. Right now, the captain's talking to the rescue center, which is in Vancouver, which is in Victoria, correction me, Esquimalt. And that's called the Joint Rescue Center. Now that's their main station. They do every marine and air rescue in BC. So they would be tasked us. Something is going to happen. Someone calls in an incident. They would call Rescue Center. Rescue Center would set up the plan, decide who would be best to respond. In this case, it's going to be Sea Island. So they call us. The captain's talking to the crew or talking to Rescue Center and explaining what's going on and what the issues would be. Then we're going to load all the gear. The crew jumps into place. Hey, Jack! Jack! So that's the hovercraft just starting up. It's going to get loud. Now, do you think we should go on board with them? Everyone out there think we should go on board? It's going to be loud. It's going to get a little crazy. But if you guys are up for it, I'm willing to go myself. All right. So now we're on board the hovercraft. Sorry about that. So we're simulating an issue right now. We're going to take this hovercraft to sea and go help whoever needs help. And that could be someone that is a boat that's struck a rock and there's a place he shouldn't have been. It could be someone that struck a log and caused some issues. Could be someone having a heart attack on a boat. Could be any incidents. And I'd say that's one of the best parts of the job, is never really knowing what you're going to get. So now the crew's just getting the hovercraft warmed up and ready to go. There's Captain Wiley Connor, the captain. You can see us lifting up right now. Where we are now, we'll lift up about 5 feet. Cabin. This is where all the crew is going to get ready. If we were doing a dive call, these are all rescue divers as well. They'd be suiting up in their dive gear. Oh, just having some technical difficulties. All right. All right, so this is the divers getting ready. Geared everything up. We got our hospital here. We have our dive section over here. James Mole is our lead dive supervisor. He'd be in charge of the dive team and any rescue that needs to be had. So down here, we'd be planning. They're talking with headsets. As you can tell, it's quite loud. So everyone's on full headset so that we can all talk internally. Unfortunately, we don't have the means to get you guys into their conversation to find out what they're doing. But that's one of the divers' hats. This is all the medical gear for any medevac, any of the dive situations. Now, let's go up into the control cabin. Now, this is my office when I was a captain, and I say it's the best office there is. We could say it's an office with a view. All right. We're going to switch over and show you Wiley Connor. He's driving the hovercraft, making sure that the whole crew is safe. Oh. Oh, looks like we're going to do a pirouette. So since we're a hovercraft, we got nothing in the water. We're about 2 inches above the ground. This thing can just basically do a 360. We like to call them a pirouette. Not sure if you can get the full, but there you can see us there. We've basically spun right around 180 degrees. And you can see it's kind of set up like an aircraft. And to become a hovercraft pilot, you have to have a ship's license, since there is no really hovercraft school. And then we got the navigator, Ian Craig. Ian Craig come from the Coast Guard College. That's where he got his training out east in Sydney, Nova Scotia. We have an entire school there that can teach you how to become a navigational officer or an engineer. There's 2 ways of saying. We say coming up through the hawse pipe, which is basically starting at the entry levels and working your way up. Or the other way is going through the Coast Guard College which is a 4-year program. And then you come out as an officer. So there's different ways to get to different positions. Myself, I came up through the hose pipe. I started as a deckhand 27 years ago. Yeah, just check it back in. This is kind of the control cabin. I'm sitting in the lookout seat where I'm sitting right now. That would be one of the crew that would be down below. They'd be up here, be on the lookout and keeping us safe, marking us. Any dangers or concerns. So now we just did that pirouette. And because it's only a 20-minute quick fam tour of the Sea Island, we're going to head back to Sea Island and make sure that this craft is ready for search and rescue. We're 24/7. We have different stations all the way up and down the coast. From the most southern one is Victoria Station, all the way up to Prince Rupert and the Haida Gwaii and Sandspit. So we have many, many Coast Guard stations, and most of them run with 47-foot lifeboats. So that's the best thing I've liked about the Coast Guard in my career here is that I've got to do so many things and go to so many areas. I've seen all the different parts of the BC coast. I've been flown out east to courses out in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and got to see the East Coast as well. So you can make it what you want it. So now this is the fun part. Like I say, right now we're at a high tide. So if you can imagine 13 feet, the whole ocean will basically go down. The water will drop about between 10 and 13 feet twice a day. So sometimes this ramp is really long and sometimes it's quite short. So we have to vary our speed and our safety because as part of a hovercraft, we've lifted up about 4.5 feet and we're 2 inches off the ground. We call that our hover gap. So there's nothing touching the ground. So we got very limited stopping capabilities. So we got to be very cautious, and that's called the training that we take, which was 5-6 months, Wiley, I think. I was become a ship's officer, become a hovercraft pilot. And that's just because there is no hovercraft school. So it's all in-house, and we basically maintain our own school here. Same with all the rescue divers. They have a 3-month program, which we actually have an open poster right now. We're hiring. And that allows you to be a deckhand / public rescue diver. And we have an in-house. Now he's just stopping it up. Are you gonna put it down and drop the ramp? All right, so we're gonna put the hovercraft down. Like we can pretend this is a beach or a rescue or anywhere. We can go up to anything. As you can see, we can go from sea to land very seamlessly. So we're going to, I'm gonna take you back down. Or a beach rescue, or a boat crashing up with a log move, we can go right up there, take the hovercraft right up in the land, put it down. And right now they're just deflating the skirt, letting the skirt go back down, and then that way they can open up this ramp. Okay, so that's basically just simulation of what we would do if we went up onto, all right, lost my camera. So we can just drop the ramp and we can load people if they were rescuing by a stretcher, a medevac, there's the stretcher. This is our hospital. All right, lost me now here. Trying to control this camera. All right, so I just got off. It kind of hovercraft went down. Now it's quite easy to get on and off. So now I'll spin it around. Now you can watch the camera to come up. Gets a little windy behind one of these hovercrafts. This would be this view if you saw it headed out to save someone. Oh. Oh, lost my gimbal on my camera. Now I can't hear any of you guys. I'm not sure if everything's going smoothly or not. All right, time to check back in. Is everyone there?
Yep, that was awesome. Thank you so much
all
for
right.
showing us that.
I just realized there's some confirmation that someone's actually on the other side of this thing. So
Yep. No, we got all of that.
I'm gonna try and get my gimbal back here. There we go. All right, how much time do we got left?
Well, we got about 10 minutes or so, like 7 to 10 minutes. So if you wanted to go back into the station or whatnot, and we can get some questions coming up, and then we can wrap it up if that's what you'd like.
Well, I'll just going to find some engineers here because they're one of the most important part of keeping us running. As well, this is a good opportunity to show you the crane. There's a big crane that we can actually just plop right on front of the hovercraft. Now it allows us to do buoy tending or tower repairs. So we do a lot of nav maintenance. But as you can see, they take a lot of work. So this one's in a refit for a 2-month period. And that's our the hovercraft CA. And CA is Salish word for friend. Just trying to track down our chief engineer. Oh. So yeah, we do a lot of navigation aids. We do a lot of pollution. We work with MER. We do a lot of community outreach programs. And we work with all the other emergency resources. They call those humanitarian cases, where if fire or police or anyone needed marine specialists, they'll actually call us in and we will assist other government agencies in different responding.
So,
Some of the
Captain
more,
Steve,
yeah,
we have a question in the chat that is asking, how does the hovercraft move on the land?
we are on a cushion. We call it the magic carpet ride. And all it is a continuous air that gives us, like, it's air hockey puck is the best way I can describe this $25 million machine. In the simplest term, is an air hockey puck. But instead of the air blowing up from the table, we have 4 engines that are Caterpillar V12 Caterpillars. On Moitel here, they're each 1,000 horsepower, and we have one for each lift. So this one, you can see the exhaust. Inside, there's an engine, which is a V12 Caterpillar, 1,000 horsepower, that blows air down, and that's what lifts us up. And then there's one on the other side. So this one has 3 fans. 2 of them blow down, and that's what gives us the hovering ability. That would be stationary because it's just lifting us up. Those also blow air, and you'll see where they're faced now. That's turned around as kind of like air brakes. When we go forward, we'll spin those right around, and they'll actually give us extra movement forward, but also help turn. And so that just lifts us up. Then we have 2 more of the same engines, Caterpillars on this Moitel, and we have these props. So that's what gives us the thrust forward. So that's basically between the 2 dynamic features is what gives us our mobility. And that's the 5 months of in-house training that we as pilots go through to learn how to do it, because it's different than a boat in many, many ways. And one of them is that we're not actually touching the water. But we can go 60 knots is our top speed in perfect conditions. And 60 knots for you unnautical folk is about 111 kilometers an hour. Now that's perfect conditions, top speed. But this thing goes. There's no question. But because of its doesn't have a V-hull or like a boat, it doesn't make it through. So when we get choppy or the weather's not great, it slows our craft down quite considerably. So that is just a maximum speed, but we usually cruise around 50 knots. 40 to 50 is kind of our comfortable cruising speed. So we can get places quite quickly.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So if you wanted to hop inside or just flip the camera around, we have a class that's joined us that would love to ask you some questions.
Okay, I got haircraft hair now.
All right, I will bring Miss Bartlett's class onto the stage now, and they'll start asking just a couple questions.
Okay. I'm just going to go walk to get the whole crew to answer the question.
Hi, everybody. We've got a couple of questions here. So, Sakthi, do you want to ask yours?
All right, guys, we're going to get into question period. If I can get everyone here to help out.
All right, first question. How many hovercraft do you have?
We got 2. I've just showed you the 2 that we have. We have Moitel and CA's in the hangar. 3 Rivers out east, they have 2 hovercrafts as well. But the West Coast, we only have 2.
Anybody else have questions? Laura, go ahead.
Why do the hovercrafts require so much maintenance?
Why do the hovercrafts require so much maintenance?
They're an aircraft. Any aircraft requires any airplane you want. You want to make sure if you're in an airplane, it's had all the maintenance required to make sure that it's in top physical condition, because they're very expensive, and at the speeds they go, they can cause a lot of damage. So they're very high maintenance because we want to make sure they're the safest possible, I guess, hovercraft that we can have. And they're not meant, an aircraft is up in the sky, clear of everything. We're in the salt water industry that is quite hard on the equipment. Salt water does not treat, I guess, moving parts, machinery very well at all. So we just make sure that we're always at the top standard to make sure we're ready to go.
Anybody else have a question? Lucas?
What is one of the most important?
Say it loud enough and then they can
What
hear
is
you.
one of the most important search and rescue equipment?
What's,
One of the,
yeah,
wow, we've had 27 years. That's a lot of different rescues. James has got how many years? 27 years. So I get that question a lot. It's always difficult to say. I like my favorite one is that the fact that they're all different. But we get so yeah. My favorites are the ones that make it in the end. We get a lot of calls. There's not always a great ending. But in the end, when we get someone that's out of the water, the last one we had just 2 weeks ago was a person who got washed off in the water. He went to swim for his boat because it got pushed off ashore. And it was in the middle of the night and we were in there pitch dark and our spotlight found him. His arm went up and we were able to scoop him up quickly because in our cold Pacific coast, they don't have a lot of time in the water. And the best thing about it was about him, he was wearing a life jacket. If there's one thing I can get out there to everyone is wear a life jacket when you're on a boat. It doesn't matter if it's flat calm. You never know what's going to happen or what boat's going to go by and wash you out. So, yeah.
one more, Safi, do you have another?
They have medical experience.
Do the people on the crew have to have medical experience to be part of the crew?
I'm going to take the earpods out. Hear me now? I'm trying to take the earpods off for the whole crew. That's the hearing abilities here. I can't hear you guys. Can you still hear us?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh, they're still connected to my mic. They're asking for your. We have a program called Medic A. Can you guys hear us still?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we can.
We have a program called Medic A. It's a light duty paramedic. So it's 4-week intensive course with some emphasis on hypothermia training and that kind of thing.
So we have advanced medical care that is more distinguished into the hypothermia and the marine world that we live in. So in the assets was same equivalence would say as an ambulance attendant or like an
EMR, emergency medical responder, paramedic.
So we're pretty much them on the water in aspect with many different. Anything else?
Go ahead, Laura.
Can a hovercraft tip over?
Whoa.
Can a hovercraft tip over? I don't want to be on the hovercraft to see what it would take. So I would say the answer is no, but I don't want to be in the situation that would cause it to tip over. It is 33 feet wide, I think, and 94.5 feet long. So it's quite a big platform. Unlike a boat that is more narrow, we are kind of much wider and beamier. So we wouldn't flip over as easy. And we've been in some pretty rough seas, but I would say there's not once in my career I've ever felt like that thing was going to flip over. How about you guys?
Nope.
So
It's pretty wide, pretty stable.
it's horribly uncomfortable in the sea. We lose our air and we start counting a lot. So it's not super comfortable, but never concerned of flipping over.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for all your questions, guys. All right, well, thank you very much, Steve, and the crew for coming out and showing us around on the hovercraft and doing a nice pirouette. It was amazing and definitely not a presentation we'll forget anytime soon. So thank you guys all very, very much.
We don't like to do things very quietly here at Sea Island, so
give you the show you guys deserve. Happy you guys would come along. I'm happy that technology worked. I am definitely not, I can drive a hovercraft, but driving this gimbal camera is pretty much my limit. So thanks, crew, for being so awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you very, very much. So
Thank you.
I'll just wrap it up here. And well, thank you all for joining. And again, we have our rescheduled meeting with the scientists from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans happening this Friday. So you guys can feel free to join that. And then we have our final presentation next week with Commissioner Pelletier, where we are going to be doing a Q&A with your questions over the course of the program. And so we hope to see you all there. Hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you again for joining.